You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning. This episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. And I'm going to be doing something I haven't done in a long time on today's episode, and that is called a Ask Me Anything. And these are all questions submitted by you lifers. Now, I probably hadn't done this in over a year, maybe 2 years. I don't know. It's been a long time, y'all. And I wanted to do it because we have so many new lifers now. And I mean, we exploded even before, according to Coco's story on Dateline, we went to number 1 in the world, not just in true crime. So we have, millions of new listeners, and people started asking me questions. So we did a post, and I asked for questions from you listeners, right? And I got a lot of awesome questions, and most of them are questions I've never answered before. So I'm going to do that today. But I want to thank everybody for liking and listening, subscribing, and all that great podcast stuff. And just, we're so blessed to continue to be ranked at the top in the world and in true crime. So I'm going to start with some questions from the app. That's the Real Life, Real Crime Community app, y'all. You go download it for free, and it has everything that's real life, real crime, censored only by me. It has forums and games and updates on cases and everything else. So y'all go download it and check it out. And this is where I go to first every day when I do social media and answer people before I go to all the Facebook pages. So the first question comes from, I hope I don't get y'all's name wrong. Jillian Witten, and she says, what you bring up often is how you read someone their rights before questioning them for any reason. Is that something you were taught, trained, or is that something you felt the need to start on your own? That has been the subject of many conversations in my classes. When is the right time to read someone their rights? We're taught that is not necessary unless taking them into custody, but I prefer your method in order to cover your bases. All right, Jillian, that's a great question, and I always say, especially after my years of experience, that anytime I came into contact with someone, I would advise them the Miranda rights. And I used to joke to people, when I would arrive on a scene and And I'd go to talk to them, say, hey, look, I'm going to advise you your Miranda rights. And y'all, your Miranda rights are when they say you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be discussed against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney prior to and during question. You can't afford one, the court appoint one for you. And I'd tell people to put them at ease. I'd say, look, don't worry about it. I go to Burger King and they say, hey, what do you want to eat? I advise them of their Miranda rights because I never know what people are going to tell me. So, Jillian, I was actually taught that in the academy, especially if you're going to be questioning someone about any type of crime. But as my career advanced, and old Detective Chuck Watts, especially when I made detectives, he's the one that I got that from. And it's the right thing to do, but because you never want any statement that someone makes to you challenged by a defense attorney and try to have it thrown out saying, oh, well, he didn't advise them of the Miranda rights. And then I'll go back to the David and Christina Constance case when she came into the office that day and they said, hey, this lady wants to talk to a detective. And, before I could even advise her rights, I said, go ahead. And that's when she said, my husband made me sleep with I think his 16-year-old nephew or whatever. And before I could even start to advise her of Miranda rights, that's when she came out and said it. And he made me, her words, suck my 7-year-old's penis. And then I was like, oh, stop. And then I advised her Miranda rights, right? I would advise you, if you come into contact with anyone, you respond to a call on the scene or whatever, it may be witnesses, it may be a domestic violence call, and you separate the parties. And before you even begin to talk to them, advise them of the rights. You can't go wrong with that, right? The worst they can do is say, well, I want a lawyer. And then at least you covered yourself. But if they turn around and say, well, I shot him, or I did this, or I did that, then you can use it against them in court, right? And use it as your probable cause to make an arrest. So you can't wait. They're teaching you that it's not necessary to advise on the rights unless you take them to custody. No way. Take it from an old hand, me, that you should use that in abundance, right? Use it. I mean, even if you don't get anything out of them and they're not a criminal, then you're not hurting yourself, right? Next question is from my boy Joshua Ebar. Now, Joshua is a huge lifer. He's always in the app and responding, even on the crew page and everything else. He answers a lot of y'all's questions. So I'm going to answer yours, Joshua. And Joshua says, hell, I'm going outside the box on this one. Would you rather be a boss of a crime family that doesn't get arrested or killed, or a sheriff that never has to get reelected? Ooh, Josh. Well, I'm a huge mafia fan. I studied it, and I mean, even growing up, I was fascinated by the Teflon Don and Al Capone and everything else. So would I rather be a boss of a crime family that doesn't get arrested or killed, or a sheriff that never has to get reelected? The younger Woody would have been the boss of a crime family that doesn't get arrested or killed. I think there's a fine line between a really great cop and a really great criminal. And I think the best cops could have been the best criminals. And Josh, I'm going to leave it at that. But that lifestyle has always fascinated me. And, really, other than being murdered and stuff, it was really hard to catch anybody in the mafia until the RICO statutes came out, and then they started prosecuting them, especially, the mafia traditionally didn't like to deal in drugs because they knew that if a person got busted for drugs, one of their family members got busted for drugs, that they would be looking at such time that they would, rat and to get out of the charges. So, but of course, that all changed as years went on, and that but ultimately be the fall of the original mafia, right? So thanks, Josh. I appreciate you, bro. So William Guild says, the shooting of Ralph Yarl. There's a lot to unwrap here, but I'll just ask you this. How does a kid showing up at the wrong house on accident get shot, and what do you think should happen to the shooter? He says, I don't have enough information on the interaction, but I've assume you've heard the story. William, I have heard the story, and then a lot of different cases come to mind and to me on this. When I was a teenager, it was Halloween night in central Louisiana, and there was a foreign exchange student who thought he was going to a Halloween party, and he went up to the house and the lights were off on the porch, and he thought that was, like part of being spooky or whatever. He's banging on the door, and the homeowner shot and killed him. And it was a big stink. It was a big ruckus at the time. But you know what? The homeowner didn't have a Halloween party going on. There was nobody there, and he's got some stranger banging on the door. Basically, the kid was cutting up, and I mean, it's a tragic situation, but the homeowner feared for his life, and he shot and he killed him. And I think he got like probation or something. So if you show up at my house in the middle of the night and you're banging on the door, I think you're trying to kick my door in, guess what? I'm going to shoot you. Now, the Ralph Yarl thing, I don't know all the specifics. I do know, I don't think that he was acting in a threatening manner or whatever, but you have a right to defend your home and to defend yourself. And if you shoot someone, no matter, if I arrived as a detective on the shooting scene, and even if it was a self-defense case, guess what? You still got arrested. I brought you in and you were getting arrested. They could be breaking your home or whatever. I was going to charge you at least with manslaughter and let the district attorney drop it down. So that's what's going to happen in this case. They've got to look at all the facts, and ultimately the district attorney is going to have to make that decision. So, but you know what, William, it's happening more and more all the time. So I don't know what the answer is to that, to stopping it. So, all right. Cindy Lozer, longtime lifer, she asked, have you ever had contact with a sovereign citizen or First Amendment auditor? Now, y'all, if you don't know what a sovereign citizen is, they are people that are living in this country who do not agree with the federal government because they think the federal government has already violated their constitutional rights or the Constitution, and they believe they are protected under the Constitution from having to submit to any unlawful rulers, right? So the sovereign citizens, they do stuff like they'll give you fake names. They don't believe you have to give driver's license or register vehicles and all this stuff. And there's a lot of them out there. And that's a very real deal. And most of these people are what I call zealots, and they firmly believe in what they believe. Now, does it make it right? No. The courts have taken these people to prosecute these people over and over again. Ultimately, the more they prosecute them, the more the sovereign citizens feel like their rights are being violated and that they're correct in whatever action it is and non-complying with officers or whatever. Me personally, I have not come into contact with one, but I was aware of them. I was trained on them in case I ever did. So great question, Cindy. I appreciate you. All right. So Dalton Voss, okay. Dalton asks, speaking of bringing drugs into jail, have you ever heard of Sheriff Raymond Martin from Galatian County? Double life plus what he received. Dalton, unfortunately, I've never heard of the case, and I didn't have time to look it up before I did this episode, but thanks for your question. I appreciate it. And Laura LORAH Porsche, I would assume that's a good, strong Louisiana name, said, if you could interview any serial killer, past or present, who would it be? Ooh, that's a good one. Laura, we're assuming that they're actually going to talk to me and didn't lawyer up. And I could interview them and find out exactly everything. I would have to say unequivocally it would be Derek Todd Lee, because there are so many. I believe he has so many more bodies on him. And by that I mean he killed so many more people that he hasn't been charged with. That, I mean, I would be fascinated to get inside his head and know exactly all the crimes that he committed and the violence of the crimes and where the rest of his victims are, so we could bring them home to the family. Derek Todd Lee is truly, truly a monster. Where like Sean Vincent Gillis, the most famous serial killer from Baton Rouge, he was just a sicko, right? I mean, Derek Todd Lee was a sicko, no doubt about that, and he's in hell now, I can assure you of that. But I would want to know exactly how he lured his victims, because most of his victims were educated, well-to-do women, right? Or Sean Vincent Gillis killed mostly high-risk victims, prostitutes, etc. Derek Todd Lee kept getting victims in Baton Rouge, even though every female in the area, and Baton Rouge, he even got one here from Denham Springs. But every woman in the area knew there was a serial killer operating, and it had been broadcast, and you couldn't get by a pistol, you couldn't get any freeze plus P or any tear gas or mace or whatever. I mean, the whole area was in a panic, but yet Derek Todd Lee was still able to abduct and murder. And there are some that are still missing. We know that, and it's believed that he killed them. There's just no evidence to prove it as far as DNA, et cetera. Great question, and I appreciate that. All right, so let's go to Jenny Wyatt. Now, Jenny Wyatt is from the Golden Triangle in Northern California, and she has been with Real Life, Real Crime since the very beginning, y'all. She was one of the original lifers. She's a moderator on the crew page, the Real Life, Real Crime crew page on Facebook. She's just absolutely a love and one of our dearest friends. But she asked, why couldn't the jury members in the Murdaugh trial have notebooks? Great question, Jenny. Most people don't realize during jury trials, when they give them instructions at the beginning of the trial, after they seat the panel, a jury selection, more commonly known as voir dire, the judge tells them, you are to listen to the witnesses and make your own decisions, and you can't write anything down. You cannot have take notes or anything to refer back to later. You have to use your own memory. Now, when they go back for jury deliberation, Jenny, they can ask to see certain pieces of evidence, but believe it or not, I don't know why, other than that's just the way it is. I mean, that's the rule of law. They cannot take notes during the trial. And I don't know if that's because, like me in the Courtney Coco trial, and I sat there every day and I had to shorthand my notes to keep up with all the witnesses and the questions from Hugo Holland, the prosecutor, and the idiot LaCour for David Anthony Burns, the defense lawyer. But if they're taking notes, they may not be as fast as me, and they're going to miss out on something. I don't know, but that's been the rule as long as I've ever been part of law enforcement. All right, thank you, Jenny. We love you. Hey, y'all. Let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glaze, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gaba will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had. Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. So the next question comes from Amy Ryland Bruce. And, oh, never mind. She just answers Jenny White. She said, Jenny White, I'm not Woody, but it was up to the judge as GS 15A-1228 provides that unless the judge directs otherwise, jurors may take notes. Judge directs otherwise, jurors may take their notes into the jury room during deliberations. Well, Amy, I've never heard of one. I've never seen a trial where anybody was able to take notes, but I'm sure you have knowledge of that. So, but thank you for that response. So Beverly Ziebert says, hi, Woody. I would like to know why you retired. Also, if you were approached by Hollywood, would you turn your podcast and TV into a TV show on ID? Beverly, great question. Okay. The main reason I retired was because I had my private polygraph business when I was with Louisiana State Police. That was part of my deal for going over there. That's how I made my extra money. And I had the same deal with the sheriff when in Livingston when I worked with him. As long as I didn't do a polygraph case that directly conflicted with the case we were working, then I could do it for defense attorneys, right? And so I got called into internal affairs, and what was the first case? I thought one of the guys from Internal Affairs, my office was right outside the Internal Affairs section, came and got me. He was a friend of mine. I thought he wanted to, me come to his office to talk about hunting or football or something. And he said, "Can you come over here?" I was like, "Yeah." And so I go in the Internal Affairs section, and I'm walking towards this office, and there was an interview room on the left, and he says, "No, I need you to come in here." I'm like, "What?" And I go in there, and he read me my police officer Bill of Rights, which anytime a police officer gets questioned about anything, they have to be read their police officer rights, not just a Miranda rights. Now, they didn't read Miranda rights because it wasn't a criminal complaint. But what happened was, I think it was Jasper Brock, the defense attorney, or Glenn Westmoreland. It was one of the guys I'd been doing work for forever in Livingston Parish, and I had done a polygraph for them, and it was on a case out of Ascension Parish, and it was a theft case or something. And I passed the guy on the polygraph. No deception indicated, and I turned in the report to the attorney. Well, the attorney had a new secretary, and when she typed up their report and sent it into, I think it was Gonzales Police Department, sent it into to their guy, she typed Louisiana State Police investigator and polygraphist Woody Overton, says, this guy's not guilty or what have you. Well, this guy's pissed. And the supervisor was pissed. He's like, what in the hell is state police doing coming in on our case and defending this guy? So he called in and made a complaint with Internal Affairs, and they brought me in and questioned about it. And I told them immediately, I said, listen, this is a mistake. They showed me the report. I said, this is a mistake. I've been doing it for them forever. I've known this attorney for like 15, 20 years. No, I think maybe 20 years. I said, my formal statement is this: call the attorney and ask him what should have been said in that. And they did it. And unfortunately, y'all, this is one of the things I hate about state police. When you bring in an officer or an investigator or a cop, and you want to question about something, they drag these freaking investigations out. And, I think they have a timeline, however long it is, but if I was in Internal Affairs and I'm working a case on a cop, you better believe that's going to be my shit hot priority. And I'm either going to clear him or I'm going to bust his ass, right? Well, they drug this sumbitch out, and it was easy as a phone call. And then they called me back in and said, hey, you've been exonerated. This is non-founded. The attorney said, absolutely. The girl, she knew that you were with the state police, but she didn't know that you weren't acting in a state police capacity. And she put that in there, and I didn't read the report before I signed it and sent it in. So I was exonerated on that, right? But I had the red ass about it, to be honest with you. And I told them, they said, well, you're exonerated, and I said, well, guess what? I said, you'll never, ever bring me in this interrogation room and question me again like a fucking criminal. And I said, I promise you that I'll retire myself before that happens. Now, I already had my 20 years in, y'all, so I could retire whenever I wanted to, but it was hard to give up the money I was making in between the lieutenant and captain's pay and the hours, and, it was the security of the job because my kids were still in school. My wife was a school teacher and all that. But yeah, I was making good money in the private polygraph business. And listen, it wasn't even like 10 days later, and they came or they called me over to Internal Affairs and sat me back down in that same room, and they read me my rights. And on the police officer bill of rights, they read you your rights, and they say you consent to question. And I said, will you sign the rights and consent to question? I signed the rights part that I understood. And I said, what's this about? And they said, Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office had filed a complaint saying that you went to polygraph a guy that was locked up in the jail, and that you had your state police badge on and your state police issued firearm on, and that you drove your state police car up there and all this shit. Well, guess what, y'all? It wasn't true. The deal was I went on my day off. I went in my personal vehicle. I did not have a badge or a gun on. At the defense attorney that I was working for, when he called, I said, you got to get me I always ask him, I said, is the guy locked up or are they on the street? And this guy was locked up. And I told him, I said, you got to get me a court order from a judge as a private citizen, not as a cop, to go in there and do that. And they did it. The defense attorney got the court order from the judge. I showed up with the court order. He had called ahead of time, talked to the warden and everything else. Well, I went in and I tested the guy. The problem with that was, y'all, I already had some history with the Rapides Parish Sheriff's Office, and I'm not going to go into that detail. It was something knowledge that I had about something bad that was being done, so they knew who I was. But the detective that was working the case, the defendant had a sister who was like a dentist or something out of North Carolina who was paying for the polygraph and all that, and he had called her, and she said, look, I got a polygraphist that's coming in. He actually works for the state police, but he's an independent polygraphist, and he's coming in as an independent, and he's going to polygraph you. And he heard that, and he had the red ass that I was coming up there because they don't like me anyway, and they still don't, and I don't give a fuck. But he called Internal Affairs and said that I came up there and badged my way in and all that, and I didn't. I never identified myself as state police. So then when they told me that, and they said, you want to answer questions? I said, hell no. I said, but give me about 5 minutes and I'll be right back. And I walked out of Internal Affairs. I went to my office and I typed out my letter of resignation, and I came back in. And I sat down, I gave my letter of resignation. I said, I'm not answering any questions. You go do your job. And I'm sure it's going to take you a while to do it, but you go do your job, and here's my 2-week notice. And on the day, my last day, getting ready to clear out my office, they called me over there and said, hey, you've been exonerated. We went up there. You were on camera. You weren't in your state police vehicle. You didn't have a badge or a gun on. I said, motherfucker, I already... No, I didn't. Right. And I said, I'm not fucking stupid. And I had the red ass, y'all. And they said, well, the colonel wants you to stay on, please, you've been exonerated on this. Can you withdraw your letter of resignation? I said, fuck no, I am done, period. And so that's why I retired. And then my polygraph business morphed into me getting certified in all U.S. federal courts as an expert witness in law enforcement matters. And then I would end up traveling the country doing high-profile defense cases. And I made a lot more money and stuff. And then I started the podcast, and COVID happened, and here we are. So great question. I'm a little long-winded on that one. So let's roll with the next one. Let's see. Chantel Marie Cole says, what are the laws in Louisiana regarding holding evidence for an unsolved murder, and what happens if all the evidence is lost? Can anything be done? Chantel, I want y'all to know I have not read these questions yet. I don't have any preconceived answer what I'm giving. Okay, it's raw and unscripted. Chantel, I don't know what the laws are. I don't think there's an actual law where you have to hold such and such for a certain time frame. I could be wrong on that. But I think, like I used to have them hold evidence in cases like rape kits and stuff like that, so they could be tested at a later date if we developed a suspect, or firearms. It would be sent to the crime lab to see if they could be traced to any other shootings or murders or whatever. So this is, you're asking about for an unsolved murder. I don't know about the law. I could tell you that I would hold on to all evidence, period. In case, especially, if it's an unsolved murder, you're really going to hold on to it in case you have to revisit it and use evidence from information you develop later on. And if it's a murder that's being prosecuted, then it's going to be held for court reasons. Now, as if the evidence is lost, then there's nothing that can be done. And a lot of times cases will have to be dismissed if it's going to trial. As far as if you're asking about like a civil suit or something, I guess you could sue. I don't know what to do about that. But there is a company out of Denham Springs that I did an episode on called Pad Tracks, and they have a new ingenious system that's getting implemented in most departments, bigger departments in the United States, where they can track the evidence real time, see where it's at. All right. So let's move on to Dawn Champagne. She says, have you thought about helping in the case of the missing Lyft driver, Ella Goody, in Scott, Louisiana? Dawn, I definitely know about Scott, Louisiana, and I know about Billy's Boudin and Don's Meats and the Corner Stop or the One Stop or whatever. Scott, y'all, if you're ever going through Scott, Louisiana, it's right. I'm on the other side, on the west side of Lafayette. Stop in any of those places. Have some of the best boudin and cracklings in the world that you can get. But sweetie, unfortunately, I am not familiar with this case, so I can't answer that. All right. So the next one is from Donna Smith Hughes Driscoll. She said, my nephew was shot 5 times in 2018 in Shreveport. We know who shot him. What would you do if the DA wouldn't do anything about it? ? We believe there's corruption going on since the man's father-in-law is an attorney. Justice for Jason, we would love your help. Okay, Donna, everybody has to answer someone, okay? And if you believe the district attorney is not doing their job, I'm not saying that this guy isn't, I don't know, the facts of the case, but if you believe the district attorney is not doing their job, especially because of corruption, then you need to call the Louisiana Attorney General's office and report it, okay? Everybody answers to somebody, even your district attorney and your judges. So the state police are not going to come in unless it's requested by another law enforcement agency, but the Louisiana Attorney General's office does oversee things like this. I mean, you could go to the FBI, but they're going to tell you to go to the Louisiana Attorney General's office. So next question. Lisa Pasarek says, which podcast do you have the most fun on? I guess you're talking about, Lisa, I did Scorched Justice and have this show, Real Life Real Crime. I have Bloody Angola, and we have Real Life Real Crime Daily. I have fun on all of them, Lisa, or had fun in a different way. Now, Scorched Justice was more serious, but I had fun working it because I like to go in and give my own spin on things, if you will. Bloody Angola, Jim Chapman, my co-host, and I have an awesome time on that one, and I love it because, we tell the worst stories from the prison to the most uplifting, and it's so interesting, and I love history, so I really love that one. And, of course, Real Life Real Crime is my baby, right? And I have fun with lifers, especially with Crew Bash and all that, but I would probably say now the show we started in January, Real Life Real Crime Daily, which is co-hosted with Mike Agavino and Jim Chapman. I'm not going to lie to you. I have a lot of fun on that show. And I'll be recording after this. I get done recording here. I'll be recording 2 more episodes today on that show. But we cut up, we talk about a lot of serious crimes and stuff like that. It's the most current stuff that's going on. But we have segments like I do the kinky sex crimes section, and they stole what? And, but we just cut up. I never know what I'm going to say. And of course, Jim and Mike are more serious than me, and Mike's funny in his own way. And Jim's funny in his own way. And I think Jim, a lot of times, is like, oh my God, what he going to say next? And Mike's trying to get me to quit saying fuck so much, or the F-bomb, but I'm working on that, but not really. So probably as far as just fun and I mean, crazy fun, real life, real crime daily, Lisa. Thank you for your question. Now, the next question comes from Missy Jewell. Missy Jewell is a dear heart. Her son, Reese, was an organ donor, and y'all know LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. A lot of y'all may not know this, you new lifers, and we have such an influx, and we're growing so fast and being number one and all that. But Missy's son, Reese, was an organ donor, okay, and he's a hero. And Missy's got on stage with me the last couple of years at the Crew Bash for the drawings, and this year at the Crew Bash, one of Reese's recipients of an organ was actually in the crowd. He came to the show. And Missy Jewell and Shane McBride are also doing a YouTube channel about LOPA now, and they do shows and they interview people. And, you know, the Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency is my jam. But Missy's question is, why do you love LOPA? What is your jam? I know, but who else knows, especially the newbies. Love y'all. So, newbies, LOPA is the Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency. They're a nonprofit. They sign people up, and then if an unfortunate event happens like Reese's did, where the person is still alive by machines, and they're going to unplug them, basically, that they'll go in and harvest the organs and give organ transplants to other people. And why do I love LOPA? I had an 18-year-old homicide victim years ago, and she was in the ICU, hooked up to the machines, and LOPA was there. And I was interviewing family members, stuff like that. And I think 5 of her organs went to different recipients, and they were able to live. And one of them, believe it or not, her heart, I believe, went to a neurosurgeon out of California, and he's still alive today, saving other lives, right? So when I started with Real Life, Real Crime, and Lori Steele, who is the absolute dear, and she's, I think, like the spokesman for LOPA, and we got to talking about it. She's also, I think, the public information officer for the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office, and she has such a passion for LOPA, and we got to talking about it. And I had other cases over the years, and then we just got hooked up, and I decided, you know what, I have this massive platform, and if I can end every show with LOPA, and we raise money for LOPA every year, y'all, with the raffle tickets and stuff like that. And if I can use my platform to save one life, then it's all worth it. That's why LOPA is my jam. So if you want to be an organ donor and you're from Kentucky, you don't have to be from Louisiana to go sign up. Go to lopa.org and fill out the form. It takes like 2 seconds or 2 minutes, and become a hero, right? So many people are dying waiting on organ transplants. And you know what? They do a lot of other stuff too. And they do studies and stuff like that. But what I learned from Missy Jewell is that LOPA, and I had seen it before, but I never really thought about it until this year when she talked about it at the Crew Bash. They really, and another lifer and Dream Team moderator had someone, and I'm not going to tell about it, that passed this year, a family member, and they said that LOPA came in and absolutely were awesome. They were amazing and giving the family support. and getting them through that tough time and everything. And she said, Woody, I wouldn't have known about LOPA had it not been for you in Real Life, Real Crime. So that's why they're my jam. If we say, we'll never know how many lives are saved or blessed or what kind of studies they can find cures for or whatever. And I don't do it for the recognition of the people that are blessed. And we'll never know how many people are blessed by it, but we just do it because I believe it's the right thing to do.
Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday host and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
All right. So, again, I have not read these questions. Here we go. Colleen Kelly Calliette says, I just listened to the episode with Christina Constance in the parole hearing. Do they ever ask the investigating detectives to be present or give their opinion? I know that law enforcement isn't judge and jury, but like you showed in that podcast, she hedged the truth and admitted the pertinent detail that you picked out. Had you been there, you could have made that point known. Colleen, that's a great point of view. And let me think about this for a second. I know since they started doing these parole hearings via Zoom or whatever, like via Skype, I've watched several of them, and usually there is a representative from law enforcement there that will say, hey, my sheriff objects to this person getting out or whatever. But then they still hear all the other people and the factors, and it could be family members and it could be victims. And that's a big deal too. They don't ask them to be present. Okay. I've never been asked to be present at a hearing, but I could tell you there's some people that I want to be notified. And when I'm notified that they're coming up, the horrible crimes they committed, they're coming up and they get in there and they do a little song and dance like Christina did. And then if I get to tell my part, I'll tell the real truth. And I've done it and they've been denied. And there's some sickos out there that I promised them I will be at every parole hearing that you have until the day that I die. And if I die, then I'm going to make sure the sheriff or whoever, your next parole hearing 2 years later, that somebody will be there to say with the evil piece of shit that you are. Colleen, that's a great question. Thank you. So let's go to Toby Fontenot. And I haven't read these, y'all, so here we go. Dear Woody, first, I would like to acknowledge that your duties as a man of integrity on behalf of the community and followers from all over America are raising awareness, and it is my firm belief that this path you have chosen is your true calling. Your service to lead by example is appreciated. In prayer hands. My question for you is, what type of help is available for people who suffer from mental illnesses if they are incarcerated for attempted second-degree murder? What type of help is available for them besides imprisonment? Thank you in advance. Ooh, Toby. Wow. I have so many different stories I can tell you about this, right? Toby, unfortunately, a lot of murderers do suffer from, I'm not saying all by any means, y'all, but a lot that I've dealt with suffer from some type of mental illness. The first thing they would do is, ask for a competency hearing, and they send them to the mental hospital, criminally insane. I guess that's the correct term. It used to be called that, criminally insane mental hospital, which is outside of Jackson, Louisiana, and they all they do is interview them, and they're professionals that establish them whether or not they can assist in their defense, whether they were legally insane when it happened. Most of them, that get sent there do have some type of illness, but it's not to the point where they can't assist in their own defense or they weren't aware of what they were doing. As far as mental illnesses, and once you're incarcerated, holy shit. I mean, I know there's programs, if you will, and they try to keep some of them medicated and stuff like that. But I'll tell you this, when I was working corrections, and I had 2 admin seg tiers and 2 working cell block tiers, and I would sneak down the tiers a lot of time to try to catch people doing stuff, right? And I was sneaking down an admin seg tier, and I heard this guy, and he was a Cajun. He had a heavy Cajun accent. He was saying, I couldn't see him, and he couldn't see me. The cells are on one side, and you can't see. I mean, even if they're standing at the screen looking to the left and right, they can only see like a foot or two. But he wasn't even at the screen, but I heard him saying, "Oh, you're in federal waters, U.S. game warden. I got you eyes for shrimping. Illegal shrimping, you illegal shrimping, put your hands in the air," and da-da-da-da. So I peer around the screen, and this dude's in his boxers, state-issued boxers, and he is literally like hallucinating. He's acting this out. He's not acting crazy. He is crazy, right? I said, "Hey, man," and he was like, "I'm busy. I'm arresting these people," and da da da. I mean, that's pretty commonplace. Shit like that, and I don't know what the answer is. I know that I used to pass out medication with the nurse every night at 9 o'clock, and a lot of them were on like Thorazine and a different type of mental health medicines, if you will. But when you get sent to the Department of Corrections, they classify you. If there's any history of mental illnesses, they do the best that they could do, I would guess, in getting you help or trying to keep you medicated so you don't kill other people or do whatever. But I don't know what the specific type of help is involved, other than that the Department of Corrections, I believe, does the best that they can do. But you have to take in the flip side of that is you got a lot of inmates in there who try to act like they're crazy for appeals, or they would just want the good dope to knock them out at night, like Thorazine or whatever. So really interesting question. Y'all, I have so many more questions. I'm scrolling between the different pages where these questions were asked. So I'm going to try to fit in a couple more. And this hours are going to be almost up. This is going to be the last episode of season 13. And I guess maybe I can end every season with one of these Ask Me anything episodes, because I have literally hundreds and hundreds of questions. I'm barely scratching the surface. But let's continue. Miss Valerie Wilson says, and I have not read these, y'all, says, no question, exclamation. Just want to say I'm a new follower after seeing you on Dateline. I've been looking for a new crime podcast. I'm so excited I found yours. Your love, and I really do appreciate you. And please continue to like us and share us. So, that's how, Valerie, over the years we've grown. It's just by word of mouth. And then we got blessed with the going viral on TikTok. And then, of course, Courtney Coco's case of what is such a tragedy, but a great story on a family that never gave up. And I'm excited that you found this too. All right. So next question, Brittany Thomas. And Brittany, I've never seen Brittany spelled this way, Brittany. Thomas says, why are only a few crimes ever taken seriously? Brittany, I don't really know what you mean about that. Every situation is different. Certainly, and it's unfortunate, but certainly the more high profile the victim, the bigger response it's going to get, and that's just the way life works. A missing, well-to-do white lady, I'm not being racist, y'all, white lady is going to get more attention than a missing prostitute, right? And one, because it's what I call an APE, an acute political emergency, and they're going to, the TV, if they get any kind of media attention or whatever, then the law enforcement agencies are going to try to put more pressure to solve it and take it serious, I guess. That's unfortunately the way the world works. But you know what, Brittany, I never took, especially like homicide victims and stuff like that, or rape victims or whatever. I never, as a law enforcement professional, took one crime of like that less seriously than another, not just because of who they were or whatever. I believe a person that lives a high risk lifestyle doesn't deserve to be murdered any more than a billionaire, right? So I don't know if I answered your question, sweetie, but thank you for asking him. And we'll go to Taylor Dorset. Has there ever been a case that had a positive outcome, like someone missing that was found alive, etc.? Taylor, golly, you just reminded me of one. America's Most Wanted. I actually, you know what? I'm going to say that for an episode. Yes, there have been positive cases. I can tell you a lot of them. I'll give you an example. One just popped in my head. It was summertime. It was almost getting dark, and these three young boys had not come home, and they'd been missing for they were supposed to be home like at noon, and they said they were going fishing down this creek, bass fishing, wading down. It was non-navigable by boat, so they had to go wade down it or whatever. And so we, put out everything, and we didn't have a helicopter at the time, and we ended up finding those guys. Another one, and I can think of a guy who went deer hunting and he never came in, and we had to search all through the night, et cetera, and we actually found him hanging out of his deer stand. He had failed, but he had a restraint on, but he didn't have enough energy or strength to pull himself back in the stand, and he was in bad shape, but he was alive. A lot of people that get reported missing, we would find and stuff like that. But unfortunately, obviously there are a lot that were murdered. So I hope I answered your question, Taylor. All right. Jackie Torres, have any stories that pertain to or have anything, she says, have any stories that pertain to or have anything to do in North Carolina? Jackie, I assume you mean, do I have any stories? I get requests from all over the United States, like especially since Dateline came out, that for people asking me to assist them with their family's cases. And I think I had like 80 in 2 days after Dateline came out, which is a lot, y'all. And people just ask me, hey, they'll Facebook message me and say, hey, can you help with John Joe that went missing in 1979? And I'm like, okay, I don't know every case that ever happened in the history of the world, right? But that might be out of North Carolina, Jackie. And so I respond to them. I say, please, and y'all take note of this if you're listening. If you have a case you want me to look at, no matter where it's at, how old it is, email me at Woody, that's WODY, at realliferealcrime.com. When you email me, put the name of the case, put any links to the case that you have in there. If you have the whole case file and you want to submit it to me, put it in there, okay? Because I get, these one-liners or one paragraphs, or some people write a page worth of stuff and never tell me where it happened at. And I have to respond and say, please email me at woody@realliferealcrime.com with any information. And I promise you this, and I'll say it now and I'll back it up. I will read every case that's sent to me. I cannot promise that I'm going to work every case, certainly, right? This would be impossible. I could work every day for the rest of my life and not have the cases that have been submitted to me thus far. But maybe I'll cover it on the show. Maybe I might work it. Or maybe what I do that most people don't know, 70% of the people that reach out to me that have information, et cetera, I might just read the case and call them or respond to them and say, hey, they can look at this and this and this, or unfortunately, there's nothing, that I can help you with or whatever. I will respond to you. How about that? I will read it and I will respond to it if you give me some information. You can't just say, have you ever heard of a case from Plymouth, North Carolina, from 1989, and not give me any more information. So if you have a case out of North Carolina or anywhere else, email me, woody@realliferealcrime.com, name of the case. If you got links, because I don't have time to go Google everybody that sends something in, right? If you got links or information, whatever, just give me as much information as you can so I can read it. Okay. The ones that have the most information I'm reading, and logically, those are the ones I can give my opinion on, or maybe even decide to work it. But Jackie, right now, I think I had somebody message me about one out of North Carolina yesterday or the day before. But I have like 6 different Facebook pages, the Real Life Real Crime crew page, the Real Life Real Crime Lanyap page, a regular Real Life Real Crime public page, Woody Overton public page, Woody Overton private page. I've got Overton Publishing. I've got all these different pages, right? And so I spend 8 to 12 hours a day on social media, and that's the truth. I try to answer every single person that asks me something or makes a comment about something or whatever. And that's how I've grown the fan base over the years. And people love that personal attention, and I'll always give it to you. Look, I'll hold my phone for hours a day. And the first thing when I wake up in the morning, I have coffee, a couple hours, and in the evening times, at least a couple hours, and a lot of times during the middle of the day, just whenever I can, I get on social media and I try to answer everyone. But here's the problem. Especially like after going viral and stuff, the people are sending these questions to all these different pages. Well, I only have so many hours in a day. and I'm going to the Real Life, Real Crime Community app first. Okay. That's where everybody can go, download it for free. And you can message me there. You can, make comments in the forums there and whatever. I'm answering those first. Then I'll go to the crew page, which has almost 40,000 members in it by itself. Right. Then, if I have time, I'll get to these other pages. Well, each one of them has a message section. So, I just found out about the message section on the app last week, and I had messages from since the app had been developed, and I had to make a post about that. But y'all, if you want to message me, you can go message me in the app or make a comment in the app in the feed, and I will answer you. Okay, if you have a case. Like Jackie's asking about out of North Carolina, then email me. If you have information, email me, woody@realliferealcrime.com. And when I get to it, and believe me, I got a shit ton to read. When I get to it, I will give you some kind of response. All right. Y'all, we're hitting an hour. I'm going to take this last question. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and do another episode for this, but I'll save it for like the end of next season. This was from Sean Riddle. Sean's been with us forever. He says, do you still call the ones who join your lifers? How do you do that when there are so many joining? Well, Sean, I think that's a great one to answer to end this episode with. The lifers, y'all, are what I call my fans, and it's a play on words, right? I like to think I'm pretty creative when it comes to stuff like you go to our Patreon. All of the different tiers are named after crimes like disturbing the peace or harassment or vandalism or whatever. You go to our subscribers in the app. All the different tiers are named after prison jargon, right? Like death row and admin seg or working cell block or what have you. So I always like to come up with stuff. Most people don't know that I've written 2 books. I like to write on, and I like to think of different stuff like this. And in the beginning, I was like, you know what? We'll call my fan lifers, because it has a play on word, because, they had a national article that they did on me, and they called my fans cult-like. And I'm like, well, we'll call them lifers. And kind of could be a play on prison word. Like if you're in Angola doing life, then you're down for life, and then whatever. I just liked it. But yes, anybody who listens to the podcast and is a fan, I affectionately term them lifers, and I always will. And if you see, even in the crew page, there's like 40,000 members on it, and my TikTok jumped from like 300 to 15,000 members now, and my Instagram has, 8,000 or something like that. And all these pages have, 20, 30,000 lifers on them, et cetera. On the crew page and in the app, I welcome all new lifers. And when they got to be so many, Sean, that like on the crew page, I think it's one of my Karens, one of the moderators does it. They'll list, it might be Christine Hernandez, I don't remember. One of my Dream Team moderators, that's another affectionate term I have. They'll list, when we get so many new ones in, they'll list them all. Say we want to take a moment to welcome all the new lifers, and they'll list all the names, right? And then a lot y'all, Sean, I've seen you do it. Lifers go in, everybody, all the lifers are welcoming the new lifers, saying welcome, 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 and I'll go in there and comment and say welcome all you new lifers. I appreciate you being here, right? So you know what? I wouldn't have a show. I wouldn't have any of these shows if it wasn't for the best fans in the world. And the best fans in the world are lifers. And people that tell me, oh, you got to quit doing so much social media. You're too big now and you can't answer everyone. You need to hire someone to answer all of these things for you. I'm not doing that, y'all. If I'm too big to answer everyone, then I'll answer as many as I can, but I'm not hiring somebody to be a fake motherfucker and say what you know, I'm just not doing that. That's not Woody Overton. Now, you'll see that if you on these Facebook pages and stuff, if you send the message, you'll get an immediate response that says, thank you for your message, blah, 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 whatever. Woody will get to you as soon as he can. Now, those come up, but I still ultimately will end up going back and answering every one of them unless you're saying, go fuck yourself, Woody, we hate your guts or whatever. I don't answer those. But that's it. When I end this, ask me anything, and y'all have I got pages and pages and pages of questions. If I didn't get to your questions, I apologize. I promise you I will get to them on a future episode of Ask Me Anything. And this is going to drop this coming Tuesday because I'm going to shut out season 13. And the following Tuesday on regular Real Life Crime. Y'all remember this. Real Life Real Crime Daily and Real Life Real Crime are both on the same feed is what we call it. So Real Life Real Crime Daily, if you're scrolling through the feed and you want to listen to episodes and you like Real Life Real Crime Daily and you don't like what I'm doing now, the daily shows are going to start with RLRC Daily, then the date, and then the titles, okay? The show like I'm doing now is going to say RLRC Original and then the title, all right? Like this will be RLRC Original Ask Me Anything with Woody, all right? And running a little over time. I guess, I had so many responses because we have so many lifers now. But I want to tell y'all I love and appreciate each and every one of you. Get a chance, go leave us a review on iTunes. It helps the show, and I never dreamed we would go to number one, much less maintain those top positions. I mean, seriously, y'all, think about it. Today, I think we're number 4, and number 1 is Dateline. And then all they do is take, and the number 1 downloaded episode in the world today is Dateline, Who Killed Courtney Coco. Isn't that ironic? So it's Dateline, Criminal, and then Dateline, The Girl in the Blue Mustang, and then us today. We're number 4 in the world. So we're up against the biggest production companies and all that. And, these people pay lots of millions of dollars for to promote their shows and stuff like that. And we're just us. We're going to keep doing what we do, not changing anything. Love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. Go like and subscribe. Y'all, if you subscribe, then you automatically, when the new episode drops at midnight on whatever day it is, now we're dropping 4 days a week between the daily and the RRC original, you get notified. It automatically gets sent to your device, so you never have to miss an episode, right? And Patreon and Convicts, the paid subscribers, I just released a bonus episode for y'all last week, I think on Saturday or Sunday, called OG, was it OG Road Partner, OG, whatever it was. It doesn't matter. You just got your new bonus episode. Is a little bit different. I think y'all will enjoy it. You get your commercial-free early releases where you get to hear all the boom gems where I F up when I'm recording or have to stop and take a sip of my tea or whatever it may be. But thank y'all for your support. We couldn't do the show without you. You're absolutely phenomenal, and we love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. Y'all Bloody Angola, go check it out. I love Bloody Angola. I think it's fascinating. It rose like 22 spots in the ranking last week also. Like and subscribe at Real Life Real Crime Daily. Y'all leave us a comment. Or TikTok, holy smokes, go watch that thing. I didn't know even had a TikTok. I knew that they were taking drunk videos of me and stuff and over the years and putting it up, but we're trying to put up something new on TikTok every day. Instagram is Real Life, Real Crime, and all the other good podcasts or shit I'm supposed to say. And I already talked about Lopal in this episode, but be a hero. Go to lopal.org, sign up, be an organ donor. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. And until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?